Bitcoin was invented in 2008 by a person or group using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. This crypto was launched on January 9, 2019. Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency that can be transferred from user to user on the Bitcoin network without the need for intermediaries. Wei Dai Bcash, Nick Szabo BitGold, David Chaum DigiCash are the most primitive and government-blocked versions of digital currencies. The Bitcoin network went live on January 3, 2009. The author of the article is Satoshi Nakamoto. There are debates about his real name, pseudonym or title of a team. The maximum number of bitcoins that can be produced is limited to 21 million by specifying in the Genesis block. The first purchase was made on May 22, 2010 with the purchase of a pizza for 10,000 bitcoins. The first purchase was made on May 22, 2010 with the purchase of pizza for 10,000 bitcoins. As of July 22, 2013, the total value of bitcoins in circulation was $1.2 billion, and as of 26 July 2020 this value was $182,967,290. The total amount of Bitcoin currently produced has reached the level of 19,031,243. The value of Bitcoin is determined by the supply and demand conditions in the market. When the demand increases, the price increases and the price decreases. There is a limited amount of Bitcoins in circulation and there is a limit and procedure for generating new Bitcoins. The biggest threats to Bitcoin's market value are, technical difficulties, legislative changes due to the approach of countries to this money, and the negative change in people's desire and trust in this money. Bitcoins, which are not produced from any center, show a point-to-point distributed network feature similar to BitTorrent networks. Payments made in this network reach other points instantly, so that the payment from which address to which address is recorded. Thus, the collected records are located in structures called blocks. By applying a hash algorithm that requires high processing on each block, it is desired to find the expression that starts with a certain number of zeros. The first user who performs this operation, which corresponds to approximately every 10 minutes, is awarded from 0 to 50 BTC, currently 12.5 BTC. The process of creating money is called mining. Mining is the general name of the process of performing mathematical operations using computational power and power. In order to make these transactions, the nodes in the Bitcoin network, which download the offered Bitcoin software and perform operations that require intensive processing power on their hardware, usually video cards, are called miners. The name of the first block of the system is named Genesis block and it was produced on January 4, 2009. As such, the first transaction in the block is a private transaction and is initiated by the creator of the new money block. This is an incentive system for miners to join the network, so that money can enter the system distributed as desired, without a central authority to issue the money. In this way, miners earn by both generating and driving new bitcoins into the system and receiving bitcoins from the system in return for services to perform pending transactions. Bitcoin is used as a payment and investment tool in some countries. In Turkey, it is possible to buy Bitcoin for TL. Bitcoins have a value because they can be used like money, and some funds are also known to be interested in this product with the expectation that its value will increase as its popularity grows in the future. Economy. Journalists, economists and the Estonian Central Bank have expressed concerns that Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. Eric Posner, a professor of law at the University of Chicago, said in 2013 that a real Ponzi game is a fraud, while Bitcoin is rather like a collective psychedelic. In 2014, reports by both the World Bank and the Swiss Federal Council on Bitcoin and the Ponzi game examined the concerns and concluded that Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. Financial journalists, analysts, economists and investors try to predict the possible future value of Bitcoin. Bitcoin will eventually reach zero values, but it's impossible to say when, economist John Quiggin said in April 2013. A similar prediction was made by economist Kevin Dowd in November 2014. Professor of Finance Mark T. Williams predicted in December 2013 that Bitcoin would drop below $10 by mid-2014. In November 2014, New York City. David Yermak, professor of finance at the University of Stern School of Business, stated that Bitcoin would be worthless in November 2015. During this period, Bitcoin's lowest value in January was $176.70, and in November of the same year it was $309.90. In December 2013, Bank of America FX and rate strategist David Wu predicted that a maximum value of $1,300 per single Bitcoin would be reasonable. Bitcoin investor Cameron Winklevoss stated in December 2013 that Bitcoin could be worth $40,000. There have been many news that Bitcoin is over. In early 2015, a journalist reported 29 news stories about Bitcoin's demise. Forbes magazine announced the end of Bitcoin in June 2011. This announcement was followed by Gizmodo Australia magazine in August 2011. Wired magazine announced its expiring in December 2012. WeShare magazine reported Game Over Bitcoin in May 2013, and New York magazine reported On the Way to the Grave in June 2013. Reuters reported Obituary in January 2014. Street Insider reported Bitcoin dead in February 2014. In the wake of these news, The Weekly Standard March 2014, Salon March 2014, Vice News March 2014, Financial Times in September 2014 published news that Bitcoin was over. In January 2015, USA Today stated that Bitcoin was gone to the ashtray, and Telegraph reported Bitcoin experiment is over. Former Bitcoin developer Mike Hearn described Bitcoin as a failed project in January 2016. Peter Greenhill, head of electronic business development at the Isle of Man, said that Bitcoin end ads are overrated. While some economists view Bitcoin positively, others are skeptical. François R. Veld, a senior economist at the Chicago Fed, described Bitcoin as an elegant way to create digital money. Paul Krugman and Brad DeLong found errors on Bitcoin when they questioned why it should be stable and its base value. Economist John Quiggin has criticized Bitcoin as the latest confusion of the efficient market hypothesis. Street. Louis Federal Bank, David Andolfatto stated that Bitcoin is a threat to the organization. Free software movement activist Richard Stallman complained about the lack of anonymity and called for improved development. PayPal president David A. Marcus calls Bitcoin the perfect place to put savings but has argued that it won't become a currency until the imbalance in its value subsides. Regarding the cost of moving money from one place to another, Bill Gates said in an interview with Bloomberg LP, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. In 2015, the number of merchants accepting Bitcoin exceeded 100,000. As of 2014, some companies accept payments in Bitcoin. More Part 2.